talking a lot about the bond, Connect NC bond package. This is something that the governor had as part of his agenda when he was elected in 2012. He said it's time for North Carolina to upgrade our infrastructure and do some things, particularly with some of the infrastructure that we can create jobs in North Carolina. He's put together a committee of 5 people across the state of North Carolina to promote this, and one of the people on the committee is none other than our good friend, a good old Eastern North Carolina boy who grew up in Kinston, now the regional president of Yadkin Bank in Raleigh, Mr. Jim Rose, who is here. Jim spent many years here in Greenville. How you doing, man?
Doing very well.
Good
Thanks
to see you. Thank you for coming down this morning. This is an exciting thing for North Carolina. I was at the kickoff on Tuesday morning at the Hunt Library at NC State, and I said this morning, I don't know that I've ever seen, and may not ever see again in my lifetime, 450 people in one room, Democrats and Republicans, and I'm sure a lot of independents, all singing out of the same hymn book. It was incredible, wasn't it?
It was incredible. You don't see that very often.
I mean, you spoke, and you killed it, by the way, but the governor, Tim Moore, you had Roy Cooper sitting on the front row, clapping at everything that was said, including what McCrory said. And then Walter Dalton, who ran against McCrory, got up and gave the best speech I've ever heard him give. I mean, he did. So it's not, and Walter had a great point. It's not a North Carolina, it's not a Republican thing, it's not a Democratic thing, it's a North Carolina thing.
Right. And then the governor said, this room represents Team North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really a special comment. I pick on my buddy Steve Jones, who I work for at Yadkin Bank, and he kind of coined for our company one team, a one-team approach. And that's really what this bond committee has been about, and that's what the overwhelming amount of support we've seen really has been all of us acting as one team.
Tell us what's in the bond. For people, people are going to have this on the ballot when they go to the polls on March 15th. In the state of Republican, Democrat, Independent. It's going to be on the ballot.
Correct.
What's in it? Why should people support it?
Okay, $2 billion, approximately $1 billion goes to the university system. So, and with the university system, most of that will be in the form of capital facilities, buildings. And a high concentration of those buildings will be STEM-related projects, because we really believe we've got to keep up with the 21st century.
And for people not familiar with the term STEM, science, technology, engineering, math.
That's exactly right.
Job creation.
Job creation and international global competitiveness is very important to us. $350 million will go to the community college system.
Of which, by the way, you're on the state board.
I am, and that's really why I'm a part of this committee. When the governor called me, I saw a 704 number on my cell phone, and I thought it was one of my bank colleagues from Charlotte or somewhere. And I pick up the phone.
Did you answer it and go, "What's up?"
Well, I don't. I'm not sure I remember how I answered, but I heard somebody say, "Jim, this is Pat McCrory," and I'm thinking, "Who is this? Is this Bo Young calling me as a joke or something?" And he said, "I've heard some good things." He said, "I want to let you know we're starting a bond committee." And he said there's going to be an honorary committee of a lot of very wealthy and influential, well-known people throughout the state. Jim, that's not you. And he said, but there's also going to be a working committee.
The real committee.
People that actually have to get out and ask people for money and ask people for votes and support. And he said, I'd like you to consider doing that. And, of course, I was honored to do it. And I'm really there representing the community college system.
Yeah.
And so the community college system gets $350 million also for capital improvements. And then the remaining $650 is broken down between agriculture, a big partnership with NC State on plant sciences and things to make us more efficient and effective in the way that we grow food. I mean, one of the most basic human needs. The park system. Everybody, I'm sure, watching or listening today has been to a great state park at some point. The zoo is a recipient of some funds, and then the National Guard. I remember I was here during Floyd and Fran, and you couldn't walk outside or down the street without seeing the National Guard out working on behalf of the citizens.
And it's to upgrade. I believe I remember it being said on Tuesday that a lot of the money is going to go to upgrade these armories that were built like in the 40s.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then lastly, water and sewer projects. And a lot of those will come to more rural areas in the state, and so everyone needs access to great water.
Now, people in Eastern North Carolina obviously want to know what's in it for them if they're going to vote for this,
Sure.
and what's it going to cost them.
Right.
So let's start with what's it going to cost them. How much of a tax increase will there be to pay for all this stuff?
Okay, fortunately, because we have been very fiscally responsible in this state, number one, we've got a AAA credit rating, which most places don't have, and that's something to be very, very proud of. Rates are at a historic low right now, and so it will not be a very expensive bond offering. But because we have been paying down other debts, we actually have freed up capacity to the point that there will be no tax increases necessary. We'll be able to afford this. I tell people, because I'm a banker, it's much like a car payment. Once you pay your car off, if your son needs a car because he's turned 16, you've already got your $500 a month in your budget. You can go buy yourself a new car and give him the one you've already paid for. And that's really what we're able to do as a state. We've already built into the budget revenues available to take care of the expenditure that the bond will create.
So there'll be no tax increase.
No tax
and the
increases.
governor has promised that, and the Speaker of the House, the legislature.
Right.
There's some people already saying that that's not true. I'll come back and we'll cover that in a minute.
Okay.
But let's talk about what's in it for Eastern North Carolina, because I'm very excited about. And let me tell you, there a lot of folks got in the ear of the politicians and the governors. Office and the cabinet and those people and said, hey, look, if you want Eastern North Carolina to support this, you got to do something to help the eastern part of the state. So tell us about what's in it for us.
Well, right here in Greenville, North Carolina, what I like to call the capital of Eastern North Carolina, approximately $100 million will come to East Carolina University and Pitt Community College, two of my favorite institutions. That alone is worth supporting.
You're an alumnus of Pitt Community College, right?
I am. And the rest of Eastern North Carolina, a lot of the community colleges will receive funding. A lot of the universities that are in Eastern North Carolina will receive funding. Some of the water and sewer projects will be in Eastern North Carolina. Agriculture is heavy in Eastern North Carolina and will benefit greatly from that. So really, there's no one in the state of North Carolina, in my opinion. You were there at the kickoff, and I had everybody raise their hand if they had been to the state
That was a great
park.
exercise. Tell people what you did about that. That was fun.
Well, I ask everyone, do you have a family member or did you attend a university in North Carolina? Have you attended a community college?
And you said, if so, raise your hand.
Raise your hand
yeah,
and
right.
keep it up. Keep your hand up. And then I said, if you've drunk out of a water fountain recently, or if you've had a meal with fresh vegetables or fresh meats, all that is impacted directly, not indirectly, but directly from proceeds of this bond. And I tell you, one of the interesting things about what has gone on in North Carolina since the last bond has passed. The last bond passed in 2000, 15 years ago. We've increased our population by 2 million people. Well, I work in banking. We work with a lot of big numbers. Sometimes big numbers get lost. So to help translate that, I told the folks there, and I'll say this morning, my beautiful wife is from the state of Nebraska. Nebraska's entire population is 2 million. So we have effectively had the state of Nebraska move to North Carolina in the last 15 years.
That's unbelievable.
And our population was 8 million. Now it's 10. It's 25% increase.
By the way, I thought that was a great analogy. It was a great way to kind of bring home the point of how much growth we've had.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And
by the way, those people are paying taxes.
They're paying taxes. That's another reason why tax increases aren't necessary, is our revenues are increasing.
Yeah.
We had a sweeping tax reduction last year that the governor spearheaded, and we still had a $400 million surplus in North Carolina. I mean, it's really an impressive state of affairs in our state right now.
All right. I'm sure you've seen the News Observer this morning. There'd been no formal opposition to this bond referendum package that's going to be on the ballot on March 15th until yesterday. Actually, it's disappointing that some of the I'm talking about a very small number, 2-3 people from the legislature,
Right.
joining with some of the same old naysayers in the state of North Carolina.
Right.
And when I looked on the website this morning and saw some of the same old names, I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
These are the same people that say, no to everything and create conspiracy theories that don't exist. They're saying that this is going to be a burden to our children.
Right.
How do you respond to that?
Well, interestingly enough, the fact that there's no tax increase needed, and none of our children yet that I know of are paying taxes unless they're employed, at which means that they're of the age that they're no longer children. There will be no burden on them if we've already got the revenue in place to pay for the funding of this bond. The other issue is, I would argue the opposite, is we are actually helping our children by increasing our ability to educate better especially in the STEM areas, but really in our overall community college and university system. We're helping our children to be able to eat better and to work better and to have cleaner water and to have a stronger National Guard and better state parks. I mean, I see nothing but benefits from this, and it's sad to me. I really look up to my dad. He's the guy I try to please the most, it seems like. And he told me early on in life, he said, I came home from school and I said, I got in an argument with somebody today, I'm not sure they like me. And I want everybody to like me. And he said, well, son, he said, the sad news about the world, I've got to be realistic with you, is 98% of the world really don't care about what's going on with you, and the other 2% are glad if something goes wrong. So there'll always be that 2% that is against you. And in this case, that's less than 2%. But, I understand anybody who would say, I want the government to be smaller and I want you to spend less money. I get that. But at the same time, those same people are glad we have police. They're glad we have military. They're glad we have, agriculture in our state's the largest industry, and we also thrive on it. So, I get that I don't like spending any more than the next person does. I'm in the business of being fiscally responsible, but there are times, the analogy I would use here is to build a building on a university campus is like someone who wants to buy a home. Hank comes to you and says, Dad, I've started a family, we're going to be growing, I need a house. And you say, well, Hank, you really got a couple of options. You can rent one or you can take out a mortgage, because rarely can a citizen save enough cash to buy their home without a mortgage. And that's the same situation that we're in. It's already in the budget, but it's in the budget for a long period of time, rather than having to spend $2 billion out of the state's savings in one day. And
the other thing I think is really important that I heard the governor say, and I think this is really forward thinking on his part, is that we're either going to invest in North Carolina or we're not.
Exactly right.
We're either going to put our money where our mouth is and say, okay, we are one of the top states in the country. 9th most populous state. We're the 9th most populous state. As you mentioned, 2 million people have moved here in 15 years, which is just unbelievable.
It's staggering.
And now we're in the top 10 in the largest states in the country. And we're either going to invest money to try to educate our people to get better jobs, or we're not.
Exactly right.
I mean, and if we're not, we're not. But I mean, if people think that the state, if you take a look around Eastern North Carolina, and you say, hey, things need to change here.
Right.
We need to invest some money to try to get things to change around here. Then you'll like the idea that there's going to be a $90 million investment on the campus at ECU.
Right.
To create jobs in science and technology. It's a life science and technology and engineering school.
Yeah, my emphasis there is on the word life. Life sciences.
Right.
We want to improve the quality of life of our citizens. And that growth is not going to stop to North Carolina. United Van Lines does a study every year of where they move people to and from on a net basis. North Carolina has been in the top 4 for as long as I've been looking at the study. At least the last 4 or 5 years, we've been in the top 4 in the nation of where they move the most people to. Now, the other thing we can do is we could consult Trump and we could build a wall and keep people out and keep them from moving to our state, but I don't think that would help anybody. So I think this is a way, I really feel like this is something that we have to do. I'm not a politician, I'm not involved in politics, but I am involved in trying to make the quality of life better for North Carolina citizens.
And you're spending a whole lot of your time on this. What's your salary to do this?
Well, I'm making exactly zero, which is the same honorarium I get today for being with you.
I'll buy your lunch.
But
if
I
you're
am
still
grateful that Yadkin Bank gives me the time to work on this effort. The nice thing is, it'll be over by March 15th. So
it's a quickie.
It's a very quick deal, but we do need your vote on March 15th. Our website is voteyes2invest.com. You can contribute right there, and don't think that a $5 contribution won't help us, because it will. I mean, that's about the cost of a yard sign.
Yeah.
And we're running a campaign against a no vote. No is our opponent.
Right.
We still had to do all the things that any candidate would do to get this campaign together. So we want to raise about a little over $3 million. We're about halfway there in pledges, and we need to raise the other half in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
All right, Jim Rose from Yadkin Bank on the bond committee, the Connect NC bond committee, and again, the vote coming up on March 15th. You get to vote, and hopefully people will vote yes on this. Jim, thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Yeah, let's do it again before March 15th.
I'd
we get
love
closer.
to.
All right,
Love to.
absolutely. And I should say also my friend Joan Perry from Kinston.
Yes.
Dr. Joan Perry is also on this committee with you. And
That's right.
I serve on the university board with her, and she's an unbelievable person.
She's wonderful.
Jim Rose and Joan Perry, two of the best people I know, and both from K-Town,
Kinston.
North Carolina. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.